Hey my little babies, welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Review, Vogue. Hi, welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. Thank you for joining me for another episode. I really appreciate it. In today's episode, I'm fucking hyped. I gotta like calm down my heart rate, number one, so that the stupid rabbit to my what's my left, possibly your right, depending, will chill out and not spend the entire episode just scuttling around. And so that I don't have an absolute heart attack because my nose is itching, because I am so excited. I have waited, dear God, what number book are we up to? 45? Like 18, 16, 15, 15, 16. I don't know. I don't know. I've waited a long time for this review because this is one of my favorite. This is probably, God, I hate to do this because Conrad and Naomi were my absolute favorite couple for a really long time. And then Josephine came along and I fell in love with her personality. And this book was just so stellar that I would have to say at this point that this book is probably my favorite of the entire series to date. So, in case you have not guessed, how could you not have? In today's video, we are back on our IAD train, and we will be reviewing Sweet Ruin by Kresley Cole. Okay. First of all, this book is brand new. I used to own this book. I don't know what happened. I moved several times and something happened and I lost it. I don't know. It's a whole thing. I'm like with my mom and storages and let's just say my family's not the best with keeping up with stuff. I harbor resentment, a lot of resentment, because my books are like it's like my preciouses is this. So I'll take that shit to my grave. So I had to buy several of this series again. So this book, this particular copy has never been read. Brand new. So it's in pristine condition. And it looks gorgeous on my shelf. But so we'll be reviewing, kiddos, this book today. So I will give you guys the deets, then the blurb, and then what we're gonna. I'm gonna try my best to make this video as short as possible. Because it's my favorite, I'm probably gonna gush about it a good bit. I apologize in advance. If you're not used to my full feature length film length videos, and you're gonna be shocked. I'm sorry. If you have come here and you're not used to this, then I don't know what to tell you. If you're not new here and you're a repeat viewer, then you're gonna know exactly what to expect. And you're here for it because you're here for it. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate you. So let's talk about pricing. I'm getting ready to go in. Okay. You can currently get this book for your Kindle or Nook for the price of $7.99. Standard, right? Cool. The mass market paperback that I'm holding in my fucking hand right now is $5.98. $5 $4.98. The digital download is $7.99. Does anyone else see something wrong with this picture? Okay. I don't work in the publishing industry. I'm not behind the scenes and privy to all of the juicy deets when it comes to marketing and the know-how of what it costs to take a book to market, right? It's not me, right? I don't know about that. I'm just common sense. Intangible object. Digital. Intangible. File on a computer. Can be mass reproduced for $0. Physical object. Costs paper and ink and shiny gloss stuff and cardboard or whatever this shit's made out of. Sorry, Freckles. Whatever this cover shit's made out of, right? Costs more, heavier. How? Okay, anyway. Unless I've said it before and I'll say it again. 1,000 times I'll say it again. Unless you're an exclusive e-reader, if you choose this over this, you're a fucking idiot. And I stand by that because you're a fucking idiot. Moving on. Okay. You can currently get the hardcover edition of this book on Amazon for about $20, which is a fucking bargain. Because this book is everything that is good in life. $20. You can get this book in varying conditions of used on eBay for around $4 with free shipping. Whatever floats your boat. It's your whatever, cup of tea. Whatever other idiom you can think of to use. Okay. I'll read you guys the blurb. And then we'll break it down. This book is also available in audio. Narrated just like every other IAD book by the brilliant, amazing, incomparable Robert Petkoff. Robert Petkoff is, aside from Jim Dale, who narrated the Harry Potter series, who will go down in infamy in my book as the best children's narrator there ever was. Robert Petkoff is the best narrator in ever. I've never run across another narrator for steamy audiobooks who can play so many versatile roles. And I'm not just talking about male and female characters. I'm talking about male and female characters, plus different dialects, plus accents, plus pitches and ranges and just everything. He does everything. He is literally, he can transition seamlessly from one character to another, from one character to this character, to the narrator, to this character, to the narrator, to this character, to just seamlessly. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with editing, sure. But seamlessly. Accents and all. Completely changing voices. Completely changing the pitch. Oh my God. it's astounding. I could listen to him talk in my ear all day long. I could not think of another person better qualified to narrate these books that I would ever choose to narrate these books. And in fact, if they had brought on anyone besides Robert Petkoff to narrate Monroe, I would have rioted. I would have set this whole world on fire. Burn this motherfucker to the ground. It's Robert Petkoff or nothing. I would rather you not put the fucking book out in audio. Okay? That's how much I love you, Robert. No audio. Or Robert. That's it. Those are the only two choices. Okay? So, I'll read you guys the blurb, and then we'll break it down. 14 minutes in, and I said I was gonna keep this video short. Lies. And then we're gonna get into it because this book, y'all. This book is so fucking good. Okay. All right. Here we go. You know how Kresley has like those tagline things, the bold print, and then like the ... or whatever. Okay. A foundling raised in a world of humans. Growing up, Josephine didn't know who or what she was, just that she was an outcast with strange powers. Protecting her baby brother became her entire life. The day he was taken away began Jo's transition from would-be superhero to enchanting villain. And there's another tagline. A lethally sensual enforcer on a mission. Archer Rune the Baneblood never fails to eliminate his target. In his sights, the oldest living Valkyrie. Yet before he strikes, a vampiric creature pierces him with aching pleasure, stealing his forbidden blood and jeopardizing his brethren's secrets. Okay, last tagline. A boundless passion that will lead to sweet ruin. Could this exquisite female be a spy sent by the very Valkyrie he hunts? When Jo betrays the identity of the one man she will die to protect, she and Rune become locked in a treacherous battle of wills that pits ultimate loyalty against unbridled lust. I love it when books use the word unbridled. It's like such an old-fashioned word, and yet it's like unbridled. So sexy. Okay. All right. So where to begin? The two main characters for this book are Rune. I was going to say Ruin. She calls him that several times in the book. Rune Darklight is the main male character. The main female character is Josephine. She doesn't have a last name. Technically her last name is Doe. Josephine Doe. Who should we start with first? So, in the last book, Dark Sky, we got our first mention of the Morior, if you remember. The Morior, or the Bringers of Doom, are essentially a group of 12. We've only seen a few of them so far, or we haven't really seen any of them, but we've heard mention of a few of them. And they're basically a group of 12 of the oldest of their species. They're the primordial, which is a fancy word for the oldest of their species. So there's like the oldest witch is in attendance, the oldest vampire known to be living, the oldest werewolf is in attendance, the oldest demon sits on the council, or you wouldn't call it council, but and the oldest fae, technically he's a fae. Rune is one of the Morior. The Morior are 12 of these primordials that essentially live on a revolving floating planet. Their dimension, their castle sits in a dimension that moves. And it basically circles around the universe. And it's making its way towards Gaia, aka Earth. And right now there are currently 4 or 5 of them awake. Some of them sleep. And then there are a few open available spots. I want to say there are like 2 spots left that need to be filled at the table, basically. Their leader, Orion, is a weird, scary dude. Nobody knows what his true form is. He has eyes like bottomless pits. He's very cryptic, he takes a different form every day, or every time you see him, he's in a different form. Rune is one of their number, and he has been dispatched by Orion to Gaia to basically kill or assassinate Nyx. Rune is what's known as a Baneblood. He is half Fae, half demon. Because of his volatile mixture of those 2 species, he's got poisonous blood. His blood runs black. And so to ingest his blood will kill you. Just touching it won't kill you, but if it gets inside you, it will kill you. His kiss is poisonous. His bite obviously is poisonous. His claws are poisonous. His semen is poisonous. Obviously he doesn't have to worry about that because he's a half demon, so he has a demon seal. So unless he finds his true mate, and his demon seal burns away, he can't produce seed. So, moot point. He does not believe that his, as he says, like his cursed species gets mates. He's had a really bad life, Rune. Rune was the bastard son of a Fae king, the king of Sylvan, which was a Fae kingdom. His mother was a slave. When his mother gave birth to him, he was supposed to be killed. His father spared his life, but sentenced him to slavery instead. And so he grew up as a slave. When his father died at the age of 15, when he was 15, his then wife, Queen Mag, recognized that he was attractive enough to use his cursed blood and his cursed kiss, essentially, to weasel his way into certain kingdoms and near certain enemies that she had, and assassinate them with using his wily charms. So she basically turned him into a killer, using his sexuality as the catalyst. He had no choice but to do this because she held his mother's life in the balance. She basically said, "You'll do this for me or I'll kill your mom." He thought his mother was dead all this time. She said, "No, she's not, and I'll reunite you with her if you perform these tasks well, and you basically do my bidding for however long I want." And so he had no choice but to do it. After he had eliminated all of her enemies, she revealed to him that his mother had actually been dead for years. And she then turned him over to a brothel and sold him into prostitution. And he became like a pleasure slave. And he was basically told, you will perform sexual acts and please these disgusting, vile creatures every night. And every morning a sword will be put to your throat, and if you've failed to please even one of them, you will be beheaded. And every morning this will happen. And if you've pleased them well, you'll get to live another day. And that went on for eons, until he was saved by Orion. He was taken out of Mag's dungeon, and he was freed. He killed Mag, got his revenge, but vowed to take out the rest of the Sylvan line as revenge. And then he went to work for the Morior. He was told by Orion that he would become the greatest archer in the world, but he continued to use sex to extract secrets from people on behalf of the Morior. So he has also given himself the moniker of the Morior's secrets master. So he's been dispatched to Earth by Orion to assassinate Nyx, because Orion has led everyone to believe, which may or may not be true, we're not sure, right, that Nyx is attempting to bring about an apocalypse. We all know from, she's telling everyone basically, that she is single-handedly steering the accession. And that instead of the accession being about a slow gradual process of, these immortals taking out these immortals over a period of time, she's basically forming alliances between certain factions involving love matches and marriages and pregnancies, etc., etc., so that eventually there will be one gigantic battle between the Pravis army and the Virtus alliance, which is basically good and evil. Orion thinks that by doing so, she's basically heralding the apocalypse that's going to wipe out the world. So the Morior believes that as well, obviously, because Orion has told them so. So Rune has come down to kill her, to take her out before she can do that. So, long story short, that is why Rune has come to Gaia. The beginning of the book starts with Josephine. Josephine starts out as a young child. I believe she's 11. And she has a younger brother, Thad, who is only, I believe, like 2. He's very young, a little like a baby. She carries him around in a little backpack. They are both like street kids. They're homeless. They were in foster care, in and out of foster care. She has no memories prior to the time that she was 8 years old. She woke up on the streets at 8 years old. She remembers basically hitting her head on something made out of crystal and waking up and having a baby in her arms and being taken in by humans and turning over to the foster care system. And that's basically all she remembers. They're her first foster family. The guy tries to put his hand down her pants, and she lights his house on fire with his own Zippo lighter. And then she takes that and she bounces, and they've lived on the streets ever since. She takes best care of him as best she can. But Joe is like a feral cat. Because she's grown up on the streets, she's mean. She's very feisty. She fancies herself like what she wants to be when she grows up is like a superhero. She wants to be like a vigilante. She's very like kill the bad guy type of fight, you know, right? Like she's very wild. She's a Hellcat. Foul-mouthed, feisty, shit-talking, even at 11. So they currently frequent this library. They went in one day to like wash up in the bathroom and to like just walk around and get off the streets for a while. And they run into this older lady librarian who recognizes them as being street kids. And she gets them something to eat and feeds them and whatever. And after that, they keep coming back and she keeps feeding them. And so Joe keeps coming and bringing them back. And she does it for Thad's sake more than her own. But the librarian, Miss B, is like lectury, and but gentle about it. But at the same time, she's like, you can't live on the streets. You can't. And Joe's like, bitch, I'll pop you in the mouth. Shut up, basically. So one day, she brings Thad by the library. She's been fucking around with the local drug dealers, and she has been messing with their business. So she's under the impression that situation is getting a little bit too hot in the area and that they're going to have to move on soon. So she stopped by the library to get them one last meal of fried chicken, basically, before they bounce and leave town for another city. She leaves Thad with Miss B so that she can go out and pick some pockets to get some traveling money. She goes outside and she runs into the thugs from the drug dealer's thugs. And then it's lights out and she doesn't remember anything else. She wakes up a while later and she sits up from a laying down position, and she spits out a couple of chunks of metal, and they turn out to be spent bullets, crushed up bullets, and essentially she was shot in the face 6 times, and she's just woken up in the morgue. So she looks down at herself, and she's essentially incorporeal. She floats down from the table, and when she gets down, she can solidify, and realizes that at first she thinks, oh shit, okay, well I'm dead, and I'm a ghost, and then she gets pissed off, and she says, fuck this, I'm going to exact revenge on these motherfuckers who killed me, and then I'm gonna go get my brother, right? She goes and she kills the drug dealers, obviously. While she's at the drug dealer's house, and she's mauling them to death, some blood sprays up into her mouth, and it tastes delicious, and she drinks more, and that causes her body to fill out, and her skin to become flush, and she basically fattens up, and she gets full. So clearly she's a blood drinker, like a vampire. And she realizes, well, I can do more stuff now. I have more powers. If I top off, if I eat, if I drink, I have more powers. And so then she goes after that. She goes to get him, and she finds him at Miss B's house. When she tries to approach him, he runs away. He's afraid of her. He doesn't recognize her. She looks different. She's like ghostly pale. She has really dark circles around her eyes. She looks like a ghost. When Miss B sees her, Miss B thinks that she's like a spirit from beyond the grave, there to basically snatch that up and take him to hell or some shit. So she's like, be gone, you know, devil be gone, that kind of thing. And Joe, you know, gets like, and she takes off. So she ponders about it, and then later on she kind of like mopes about for a while, and then she comes back when she hears that Miss B's husband has died. Because now when she first leaves, she thinks, well, Thad has two loving parents. Maybe he's better off there, and he has, you know, a place where he has a full life, and it's too dangerous to be with me right now. So then she hears that Miss B's husband has died. So she goes back, and she sees, she sees Thad through the window, and, you know, Miss B's grieving and yada, yada, yada. And she hears Thad call Miss B mommy, and it like breaks her heart. And then she realizes that she like can't tear him away. And so she makes a vow that she has to like leave him behind, that he's better off where he is. So she leaves town, and she moves from Texas, which is where they lived, to New Orleans. Fast forward, I don't know how many years later, 15 years later, she's living in New Orleans. She has kept the bullets that she spit out of her mouth. She's turned them into a necklace that she wears as a reminder that, you know, that to stay away from Thad, that her life is dangerous and yada yada. Rune is now in New Orleans looking for Nyx. And he's using his sexual skills against the nymphs of New Orleans to try and garner information about Nyx and where she is. He's obviously not telling the nymphs that he's out to kill Nyx, because the nymphs as a species are kind of like the Switzerland of the lore. They don't take sides. They're like impartial. The impartial faction. So if they knew that he was trying to kill Nyx, they would not help him. So because he is a notorious playboy on every planet he visits, they think that he's just trying to get in Nyx's pants. So they promised if he porks them, that they will give him information on Nyx. So he's in a courtyard, and he's banging like 3 or 4 nymphs at once. And Joe is passing by, and she overhears like lusty chicks. Oh, Rune, oh, harder, Rune, you're the best. It's the biggest dick I've ever seen, Rune. Oh, right, okay. So after like the 3rd different female voice crying out in ecstasy, Rune, Joe's like, I gotta see what this is about. So she ghosts, that's what she calls it, when she goes intangible. She ghosts into the courtyard, and she sees this dude basically like fucking this nymph against the wall. Pants around his thighs, can't even be bothered to get undressed, like he's just going to town. And the nymph is going insane, and he's just like half zoned out, not even really paying attention, just whatever. And he's just there. He's not even into it. And she's just like, at first she's like, yeah, and then she's like, oh, he's not even, like, this is sad to watch. She doesn't give two fucks. She's so, oh God, she's the best. So she watches for a few minutes, and then she just leaves. So he finishes with the nymphs, and then as he gets ready to like he's finishing up, and then he catches like a whiff of her scent left over in the courtyard, and she smells like these berries that used to grow near the, what he calls the fens, which is like the stockade where he used to work as a slave in his home kingdom. And he follows it. He's like, what does that smell? I gotta find that smell. So he follows it, and he tracks her back. He tracks her down, and then he sees her, and he's like struck dumb. Obviously struck dumb. She's basically like a walking. She's like a walking goth, basically. She fancies herself like, how can I describe it? She's essentially like, yeah, she looks like she stepped out of a Hot Topic. She wears like, all of her clothes are ripped. She wears like all black. She's got like multiple piercings, combat boots, like very, and because of her the dark shadows around her eyes and her deep colored lips and etc., she looks like she's very gothic. So he sees her and he's like, damn, I gotta have you. So he chases after her, and he stops her, and he's like, hey girl, what's up? And she's like, boy, please. And he's like, no chick ever turns me down. And she's like, boy, please get out of my face. And essentially he's like, what? Like, I don't get turned down. And she's like, well, yeah, no, I'm sure you had enough with that. Like, you already had 4 nymphs. You've had plenty. Like, you couldn't even bother to take your fucking pants off. I'm not looking for none of that. And he's struck dumb because he's like, I wasn't getting no complaints. And she's just like, no, I'm not interested. And he doesn't know what to do with that. He's never had that before. So of course, you can't have, obviously. So he's got to chase her around a little bit, right? So, essentially while they're going back and forth, Joe picks his pocket, and she steals a little stone that he has in his pocket that is like a talisman that he keeps with him. It was the last gift from his mother. It has like a rune carved on it that his mom gave him. It's like his most treasured possession. When he realizes that it's missing, and he connects the dots that he had it in his pocket up until the time that he ran into the little gothic chick, he realizes that she stole it from him. He finds her later in the same courtyard, and he's like, bitch, you stole my shit. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. and they go back and forth again. And in the ensuing scuffle, they start to make out a little bit. And she bites him. And he starts to freak out, and then realizes that she's not dying from his poisonous blood, and that she can drink him, and that it's the most orgasmic feeling that he's ever experienced. And it's just opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for him sexually, because before he couldn't kiss anyone on the mouth without killing them. He couldn't nut inside anyone without killing them, obviously, because he has a demon tail anyway, but he couldn't go down, no oral sex whatsoever, giving or receiving, because he'd kill them. A whole new world, right? Okay, so now he's like, now I must have you, because you're literally the only woman that I can do all these things with, and I already wanted you because you're hot as fuck. So yeah, gotta have you. Completely forgetting that you're a pain in my ass, but you know, whatever. So after it occurs to him, after she bites him, that there's a good possibility that she could have harvested his memories from his blood, and that she could dream his memories and subsequently his allies' memories, or the information, his allies' secrets, the Morior secrets. So now she's become a liability. At first, he immediately goes, I have no choice, I have to kill her. His loyalty is to the Morior. So he goes to pull a knife on her and basically shank her. And she sees it coming and she wigs out and basically disappears. He hunts for her and he cannot find her. He goes into the local voodoo shop, Loa's, and he buys these mystical handcuffs. And he basically, when he finally does track her down, he doesn't really track her down. She tracks him down. He's out, he has the cuffs on him, and he's out in the quarter looking for Nyx to complete his mission. And he sees her with another guy out in the quarter. Not Joe. He sees Nyx with a guy. In the meantime, Joe has decided that she's going to try and seduce Rune to get him to not kill her. So she puts on like a man-eating red dress, and she does her hair, and she puts on her makeup, right? And she goes out to look for Rune. She finds him about the time that he sees Nyx. She sees him drawing his bow, an arrow, on Nyx. She looks down and she sees Nyx on the street with this guy. The guy turns around and it turns out to be her brother Thad. If you remember, Thad was trapped in the Order's island prison with Natalia, the other Dark Fae, and Regan in the cell with them. I don't know if you remember that. Now he is an ally to the Valkyrie. So Nyx has basically used him as bait to draw both Joe and Rune out. So when she sees Rune drawing on Nyx, she thinks that Rune is trying to kill Thad, and she takes him to the ground. She basically uses all of her strength to put him through a building from top floor to bottom floor, or to basement, basically. In the ensuing scuffle, Nyx and Thad get away. Rune uses the cuffs to shackle her, take her back to his off-plane or off-Gaia penthouse apartment in a place called Tortua, which is essentially, his apartment is inside of a pleasure den where the floors are see-through and you can see every floor underneath. Each layer houses a different type of orgy, and you can watch people having sex. And she is basically a prisoner there. And the whole place is warded, so she can't get out. Where she thinks that he was after Thad, now he thinks that she's in league with Nyx, and that's why she took him down. So now he's gonna sexually torture her for information about Nyx. So he starts to do that. She fucking loves it. She loves every minute of it. Because the entire time that Joe has been alive, or at least the entire time since she left Thad, she has been alone. She's had nobody. From the time that she was 11 years old, when she was killed, and she left Thad, she's been on her own. She's ghosted into other people to feel connected to people, and she's lived vicariously through them, but that has just basically reinforced the fact that she's missing out on all of these life experiences that she can't experience with anyone because she has no one, and because she's not really a person, like she's not really alive. So when Rune starts going to town on her sexually, every little bit of pain and pleasure that she feels makes her feel alive, and she loves it. He essentially pushes her beyond the point of control, where she feels she's thankful to him for doing that to her. Like she's, yeah, it's hot. It's hot. So after the sexual interrogation, he basically lets her go. He uses her as bait. He still thinks that she's in league with Nyx. He uses her as bait and follows her. She's going after Nyx because she thinks that's where Thad will be. Rune thinks that she's going after Nyx because that's her ally, right? So he follows at a distance. So Nyx, of course, being the ever-knowing, is just sitting there waiting for her. She shows up. Nyx essentially tells her, like, yeah, I have that. What are you gonna do about it? Joe goes, I'm gonna beat your ass. And Nyx is like, I don't think you will. Joe tries, and Nyx literally beats the shit out of her. Literally beats the shit out of her. While she's doing it, she creates kind of like a cage of lightning around them so that Rune cannot interfere. None of his arrows will penetrate the lightning, much to his surprise. He can't get in to help Josephine while Nyx is literally breaking multiple bones in her body and causing massive internal bleeding. While she's hurting her, however, she's giving her tips on how to fight better. So she's saying things like, why would you ever become tangible in a fight? And basically giving her cryptic hints about what she really is. Because up to this point, Joe has been ignorant of everything involving the lore. She doesn't know what she is. She has no idea, aside from the fact that she's half vampire. She doesn't know what her other half is. She doesn't know where she comes from. She doesn't know what her ability, the full extent of her abilities are. She doesn't know anything. She knows nothing about the lore. So Nyx is saying stuff like death and death all rolled into one. And, just cryptic shit like that. And she keeps telling her to stay down, little girl. Don't get up. And Joe being Joe, is like bitch, I'm gonna beat you, and tries to get up again, and then Nyx breaks another bone in her body. And they do that until Joe basically has nothing left to stand up on. And then Nyx just goes and leaves her to Rune, who swoops her up, takes her back to Tortuous, and just covers her in healing runes, not knowing whether or not she's frozen into her immortality, because he doesn't know that she came back to life at 11. He thinks she's like any other regular immortal, and that freezes into her immortality around mid-20s, and she could still be on the cusp and may not survive. So he slathers her with healing runes, and hopes for the best. While she's delirious with pain and all of this, he asks her, like, why Nyx was beating on her, and he overhears from the fight and the conversation that happened prior to the fight with Nyx. He could overhear everything that they were talking about. So he knows that she was not in league with Nyx, that she was trying to protect Thad. But he doesn't know what her relationship is to Thad. So he's crazy jealous. And he's like, do you love him? And she, in her pain-filled stupor, says, what a stupid question. Of course I love him. I love him more than anything. And he thinks it's like a romantic type of love, so he goes crazy. And he basically makes like an offhanded comment about going out to screw a whole bunch of nymphs. And then he leaves. She wakes up later on, mostly completely healed. And after taking a shower and washing all the runes off of her and getting her wits about her, she remembers the comment about the nymphs. And then she remembers, she gets good and mad. And while she's good and mad, she remembers some of the comments that Nyx made during the fight about her not using her abilities to her full potential, and several like comments she made about like her possibly being able to move things without having to touch them and that kind of thing. And so she starts practicing telekinesis and realizes that she can move things with her mind. She trashes his entire apartment, including his like room full of his priceless artifacts that he's been collecting for God knows how long. Because she's pissed off because she thinks he's out there banging tree whores. So she does that. He comes back. He's enraged. She's like, I don't care. Prior to him coming back, he did go to one of the nymph cubbies and met with one of his trusted, tried and true nymphs that he's been friends with for ages and ages. Dolly is like they've been like friends with benefits. So she's like a very wise, not an old nymph, but she is old. She's old as an age, but not bodily old. But she gives really good advice. And so like they start making out, and then she realizes that he's not into it. And she's like, you're not really here. What's going on? And he tells her about Josephine. And she's like, could this girl be your mate? And he's like, I don't believe dark fae get mates. And even if she was my mate, nothing would change. I'm a secrets master for the Morior. I would, even if she was my mate, I would still have to do my job for the Morior. I'd have to screw other women. And she's like, you've lost your fucking mind. Like, if that's your mate, that's your mate. You gotta... And the entire book, he spends having that stance of, even if you are my mate, I still have to sleep with other women. And her whole stance throughout the entire book is, I want a commitment. If I'm not having sex with you, then the next person I sleep with will be someone that is committed to me and me alone. And so they're kind of like at a stalemate. So he doesn't follow through with anything with Dolly, and he comes back, finds his house trashed. They get into it about Thad. He guesses once he starts thinking back. He gets a look at Joe's face, and he starts thinking back on what Thad looked like, and he realizes that Thad is not her lover, boyfriend, whatever. That Thad, they look alike, and that Thad obviously has to be her brother. And he simmers down a little bit. And then shortly after that, he says that he's going to leave her behind in Tortua while he goes to finish his mission to kill Nyx. And she says, no, I'm gonna kill Nyx because she's fucked with me for the last time. Like this, she just broke every bone in my body. I'm gonna fuck her up. And he's like, no, you're not. And so she makes a vow to the lore that she'll never drink blood again unless she is with him every step of the way on the mission to kill Nyx. And she gets the vow out before he can stop her. And so if he doesn't take her along with him, he's basically dooming her to starvation. So he has no choice but to take Joe with him to go hunt Nyx. Shortly after that, they go back to her motel room to gather up some of her stuff. And they get a note from Nyx basically saying, hey, I'm going to go have tea in China. You should follow me to China. So they do. They follow her to China. And from there, they bounce around from one location to another, following cryptic notes left by Nyx from one to another, to another, to another, to another. Basically just chasing after Nyx around the world on a wild goose chase. Throughout the entire time, he's letting her feed from him, and they're making out, oral sex, pleasuring each other, but no real sex until they receive an invitation to a ball in the Fae Kingdom of Titania, which will be attended by all of the Fae nobility and blah 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 blah. And there's a high probability that a lot of the members of the Sylvan Royal Court will be there. So they go. Joe wears she stands out like a sore thumb. She's wearing a strapless black skin-tight satin dress, and she has painted a choker of runes around her neck with Rune's blood, his Bane blood. He's obviously sporting a massive heart on the entire time because it's possessive, right? Like, I've marked you with my shit, like that's my blood, right? So, yeah. So they go, and of course it's a trap. His half-brother Sethon, Seth for short, the current king of Sylvan, happens to be there with several of his guards. They ambush Rune. Rune sends Joe off to the side to protect her and to keep her out of the way so that he can do his thing. He kills a whole bunch of guards. One of them creeps up behind Joe and puts a knife to her throat. Sethon basically tells Rune, I'm gonna kill your freak of a mate if you don't, one of you is gonna die, either you or her. Either give yourself up, let me kill you, or I'm gonna kill her. And Rune's like, You have no idea what you're doing. She's about to fuck you up. And he looks at her and he's like, go ahead. And she basically goes ghost with the dude, the guard that has her, and makes him go ghost, and then sinks him into the ground before she, like really slow and creepy like, which freaks Sethon out. And then Rune shoots an arrow at him, which he deflects with the sword, the Sylvan sword, that's like the uniting symbol of the kingdom. And the sword basically explodes. And the arrow basically obliterates the sword, and it explodes. Josephine comes back up from the ground without the guard, leaving him to embody under the ground, where he may or may not be dead. So, yeah. So, safe to say, when the smoke clears, Sethon has made his escape. So, he doesn't get killed. However, everybody else in the kingdom knows what she is now. And there's a target on her back, but oh wells, what are you gonna do? And yeah, so they essentially, they leave from there. Rune takes her to one of his favorite spots where they do have sex, break his demon seal. It turns out she is his mate. The sex is good. Yeah, sex is good. Unfortunately, after that, he still has to find a way into Valhalla to get to Nyx. And the only alternative that he has is to have sex with a nymph that has promised him that she has a way to get him into Valhalla. And he tells Josephine that your brother's in danger, and the only way I can get to him is by sleeping with this chick. And she's like, what? But we just had sex, and I'm your mate. It's been proven that I'm your mate. And he's like, I don't have a choice. And I also told you that I still have to sleep with bitches for my job. And she's like, what? And she's devastated, obviously. And he's like, but you don't, but it means nothing to me. It doesn't mean anything. Like, and she's like, well, what are you gonna do if I start sleeping around with other people? And he's like, it's not the same thing. You have no reason to sleep with any other people. I have to do this for the Morior. You don't have an actual reason to sleep around. I do. And then she brings up like feeding, and she's like, what if I feed from someone else? And he's like, again, you don't have a reason to feed from someone else. And he's just like tossing all these things back at her, like, you don't have a reason, you don't have a reason. And she's like, he's like, I want you to come with me. You have to come with me to the nymphs. She's like, you want me to stand there while you bang this chick? And he's like, well, unfortunately, you made the vow not to drink blood unless I took you with me every step of the way on the plan to kill Nyx. I can't go get this thing by myself because it involves my plan to kill Nyx. Because if I don't take you, you can't drink blood. So she has no choice but to go with him to the nymph covey and stand outside and wait while he goes inside. And she's heartbroken. And he goes inside. Dolly is there. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I don't have a choice. And she's like, you've lost your fucking mind. And he's like, I can't hear this right now. I have to go in. This is after they've had their big blow up outside. So Joe's outside crying. She runs into Deshazer. If you remember, Deshazer is the piratey demon. Smoke demon, I think. She runs into him. And she's like, she tells him basically the gist of what's going on. Yes, I'm Rune's mate. He's inside banging someone else. Because we need to get into Valhalla. And he's like, well, why didn't you just say so? Getting in is the easy part. Getting out's going to be the problem. And he tells her that Nyx told him years and years ago she gave him a message. When you see the vampire crying black tears, tell her to surrender. And the message made no sense to him, but now it does. So he tells her, I'll trace you to Valhalla, and you surrender. And that's how you get inside Valhalla. So she leaves with Deshazer. And while this is happening inside, Rune is starting to make out with this chick Melier, this nymph, for what she has. For what she claims she has that will get him into Valhalla. He gets into it and then realizes, as he replays the conversation that he had with Josephine, the argument, realizes how fucking stupid he sounded. And he can't go through with it. And finally, he's just like, I can't do this. I have to leave. And he basically robs her of the key that she had to get into Valhalla, which turns out to be a phoenix feather that he can use to put on an arrow to shoot the wraiths that circle Valhalla to get in. Nothing can penetrate the wraiths. They've tried everything. Allegedly, there's nothing that can get past the wraiths except for a lock of Valkyrie hair. It's rumored that over time, the wraiths will braid that hair into a long plait that once it reaches a certain length, they will be able to bend every Valkyrie to their will for a time. And they're coming up on that length, like, immediately. So Rune comes out of the treehouse, cubby thing, and he runs into Dolly. And he's scenting for Jo, and he doesn't smell her. And he says, where is she? And she goes, she left with a demon. What demon? Deshazer. Rune starts freaking out. She left me. And Dolly's like, yeah, I just told you that. And he goes, no, you don't understand. She left me. As in, she left me. She's done with me. She's left. And Dolly tells him that she overheard them saying something about Valkyries. So he traces to Valhalla, where he sees Jo not surrendering, but instead waging an all-out war on the outside of Valhalla. She's basically using her telekinesis to pick up and throw anything she can get her hands on at the wraiths that surround Valhalla. Cars, trees, everything, anything. Lightning rods. The rest of the handful of Morior that are awake, sans Orion himself, are standing off to the side watching Jo go to town on Valhalla. And they're like astonished. Rune is like, why are you guys here? And they're like, Orion sent us down here. They told us that your mate would be here and that you might need our help. And Rune is watching, and Jo is basically, Jo being Jo, has decided she will not surrender, and instead she will call the Valkyrie out. And that until they decide to come out, that she will just attack the wraiths with everything that she can. She's using the lightning against them. against the wraiths themselves by stabbing the Valkyrie's own lightning rods into the wraiths and using the lightning to electrocute them. She figures that if the wraiths are dead and Joe is dead and Joe can bleed, then the wraiths can be harmed as well. So she's doing everything she can to harm the wraiths, which over time it seems to be working. That the wraiths are slower to bounce back than they were in the beginning. But they're still protecting Valhalla. So shortly after Rune gets there, the front door of Valhalla opens, and out tosses a piece of hair. And the wraiths part, and out walks someone. Joe thinks that it's Nyx, and it's not. It turns out to be Thad. Thad immediately starts doing like a force choke, like Star Wars, like a phantom choke on Joe. And Joe can't get any air to tell him that, hey, it's me, your sister, even though you think I'm dead, it's me. Thad doesn't know it's her, so he thinks this is a monster here attacking my friends. And Thad, who has recently gone through his own transition into whatever it is they are, has his own abilities and is telekinetically strangling her to death. She's using her telekinesis now to hold Rune back, because Rune is trying to get at Thad to stop him from choking Joe. But she knows Rune will in order to do that, Rune will probably hurt Thad, so she's holding him back. So it's a big clusterfuck, basically. While that's happening, she's starting to lose consciousness, and she's losing her hold on Rune. The wraiths are still surrounding Valhalla. Rune uses his arrow to shoot the wraiths. And the wraiths, because he has the phoenix feather, it basically blows the wraiths to Kingdom Come. Which, coincidentally, wink wink, nullifies the contract that the wraiths had with the Valkyrie when they were one lock of hair short of finishing the braid that would bend all of the Valkyrie to their will. Oh, shucks. What could have been? Says Nyx. She knew what she was doing. She knows what she's doing. This is why I say, and I'll say it every time. Nyx is the key. Nyx is the key to everything. I'm telling you. Joe manages to get enough air to eke out something that makes Thad recognize who she is. He ends his force choke. He protectively picks her up, refusing to give her over to Rune, and disappears with her. Rune, with the help of his Morior like friend, tracks her to a nearby estate where the Bradens, aka Miss B and Granny B and Thaddy are living. Ever since he transitioned, they moved from Texas to New Orleans. Joe is staying there now. And yeah, so she's resting up there, and Rune, at the urging of his Morior peoples, decide to give her a week to cool off before he goes and attempts to make right with her and tell her that she's basically the love of his life. Please don't leave me, blah, 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 right? During that week, she has time to spend with Thad and, you know, make nice with Miss B, and, right. So he does, and he goes and he sneaks into her room after a week. She's sleeping. He lays down next to her. They fall asleep together, or she's already sleeping. He falls asleep next to her. He wakes up, and they're basically in the stratosphere. She's like sleep ghosted upward into the sky. And when he wakes her up, she embodies just enough for him to trace her back to the house. And she remembers memories from before she was 8. And it turns out that her real name was Kiera, and that she was the daughter of a half vampire, half phantom. Her home planet was a planet by the name of Apparitia, and it was destroyed in an apocalypse, basically, when she was 8 years old. She then, her brother, Thad, was a newborn. He was born the same day that their world ended. Their mother basically gave the baby over to her for protection while she kept basically like a portal or a black hole open, a rift open, for them to get through before the world basically crumpled in on itself. They floated through space, her and the baby, for a while. And then she used, when they were getting ready to be like covered by like lava and things of that nature, like from other planets, she used her powers to combat these elements, which created like a shell around them that eventually turned to crystal. And they floated in that crystal for like thousands of years, like eons. They entered into like a stasis state until they eventually landed on Earth and cracked open the crystal and woke up. And she was 8 years old, or she thought she was 8 years old. And that's basically her backstory. So she's half vampire, half phantom, from the realm of the phantoms of Apparitia. And yeah. So Rune, she tells Rune all of this that she's uncovered. And essentially what happened was that everything she witnessed in space was so much she saw behind the curtain of the universe, and it was too much for her young brain to process, and so it essentially broke her mind, which erased everything, and that's why she couldn't remember anything. And she tells Rune all of this, and then she remembers, like, why the fuck are you here, you cheating piece of shit? And he tells her that what happened with Melier, and that he couldn't do it, and that he ended up stealing the feather, and now he's at war with all of the nymphs, and he's been shunned from every covey on the planet, and blah blah. And she believes him, and she's happy, and yada yada yada, and they live happily ever after at the end. Okay, 2 hours later. So, yeah, I think that's about it. One detail I forgot to mention, during the fight with Nyx at Valhall, Rune does have to make a vow to Nyx that he will not attempt to kill her. And that's the only way to release Jo from her vow to not drink blood without Jo there. It's kind of like a nullifying her vow with his vow kind of thing situation. Which puts him in a precarious place with Orion, but he's hoping that by attempting to recruit Jo and Thad for Orion to the Morior, that it might score him some brownie points. So we'll see what happens. We'll see about that. So, yeah, that's basically that. For the rating for this book, I gave it a 10. I fucking love this book. This is probably, like I said at the beginning of this video, that was 5 hours long. This is probably my favorite book of this entire series. I fucking love this series. I love this book so much. I love this series so much. I would highly recommend that you guys read this series. God, I love it. I love it so much. Okay. If you enjoyed this video, if you like me and you like this channel, please consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so you get notifications when I upload a new video. I upload new videos every Thursday. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I do have a members only Facebook. I do have a members only Facebook group, an Instagram, and a Twitter devoted to this channel. If you would like, you can follow me. I'll put them all in the description box below, and I'll put a little banner here on the screen for you guys to see. I really appreciate you guys joining me for another video and sticking with me. I really, really appreciate it. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Okay? I love you so much. Bye. It's about to go down. Okay. It's from a song, and I can't remember what it's from. I don't remember. Do you remember? I don't remember. Okay. I've tied my hair back in the front so I can fuck with it the most minimalist of bits. So so that we can focus on today's review, because I'm so excited. I'm so fucking hyped. I'm like, I've got the jitters. I've got the jitters in my body. That's how excited I am. Okay. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's wrong with you? Okay. All right, are we ready? Are we pumped? Are we pumped enough? Stop doing this hand motion. Are we pumped enough? Okay. Stop it. You're scaring the straights. And I'm not talking about sexual orientation. I'm talking about the sane people. Okay. Let's do this. Are we straight? Enough? Are we straight enough? Are we far back enough? That's good enough. Okay. My ear itches. Sorry. Excuse me. Is that taboo? Is that like weird to scratch the inside of your ear? Like, I'm not talking about like digging a hole to China, but like right inside the first bit of the ear canal. Like, is that considered gross? I don't know. Sometimes like you just gotta itch, you just gotta scratch it. Okay, anyway. Irrelevant. Okay, let's go. A lethally sensual, yet before he strikes, a vampiric creature pierces him. Yet before he strikes, a vampiric creature pierces him with... Why can I not read that? My brain is like hiccuping on the exact same spot. Why? Can you not? Hello? Is anyone home? Nobody answered. Joke's on me. The house has been abandoned for years. Okay. And he became like a pleasure slave. Okay. Dear God. All right. 25 years later. 25 years later, and another one bites the dust. I have to go. I really have to go. It's like 11 o'clock. My kid has not been put to bed. Rolling my homies. What's that from? What is that from? Clueless. Clueless? Clueless. Maybe. I can't remember. I want to say Brittany Murphy did that, but I can't remember what movie it was from. Anyway, I got to go. I love you guys so much. I'm picking at my nails. I shouldn't, but I am. Because I'm a picker. Because that's what I do. Because I'm a nervous fucking wreck all the time. I know you don't care. I know you don't care. But anyway. I'm gonna go write down some more reading recs that people on Bookstagram have given me that I can add to my ever-growing pile of books that I'm never gonna get around to reading because there's just not enough of me and hours in the day and time and space in my house and space in my brain and stuff.